Hi again. I want to work on my junk journal thing today, and I got it last week to this stage where I had 8 of these pages, single sheet signatures, if whatever you want to call them. Somewhere along the line, I decided I wanted to add pages inside of each of one of these. So I want to show you what I've done, and then we'll go from there as far as getting it bound. I went ahead and cut paper because I didn't want to make you watch me cut paper. So I went ahead and cut paper for all the signatures except one, so I can show you what I'm doing. I have this paper that it's actually 11 by 17, and it was the perfect size to cut down to make the papers for inside of this. I did have to trim a little off on each edge, but not a lot. So I'm going to show you. All I did was I took this 11 by 17 inch piece of paper and folded it. And we're going to cut it because this is roughly not quite 8.5, but it's close to 8.5 this way and close to 5.5 this way. I wanted the pages to be inside of those exterior pages, so we're going to measure from the folded edge and cut it off at 8.25. And then each of these pieces will be cut at 5.25. And again, I'm using the folded edge as my measurement because that way I'm sure I've got a straight edge. And one of the things that I always try to do is, this is a cut edge, might be a little rough. This is a paper edge that the machine cut, so I'm going to flip it over so that I'm using this edge. It really doesn't matter. It's just one of those things I do. Okay. And I just cut multiple pieces of paper like that. I decided that I wanted 3 sheets inside here, so that gives me technically 12 pages on each signature. So what I did was I just took 3 sheets, tucked them one inside the other, come here, made sure they were nice and balanced up like that, and then I rounded the corners because I had rounded the corners on the cover and on all my pages. I went ahead and rounded the corners on these. And then where's my empty one? Right here. And then these are just tucked into there. And that's as far as I've gotten, okay? But basically that's going to make my book look about like this. And I'm really liking it. And I think 3 pieces of paper, 12 pages per signature is plenty. I don't want to get it any bigger. I'm afraid it will be too big to fuss with. So the next thing we have to do is figure out how many holes we want to put across there. Oh, that drawer makes awful noises. And when we do that, we need to mark it. And now the cover is different than marking the signatures. I'm going to put my holes about a 1/2 inch in on the cover. And this is a centering ruler. Oh dear, you can't see that at all. Let's see if I have a piece of white paper. It has a 0 in the middle, and then it goes out to each side. It also has a standard ruler on the other side. It also has these 1/4 inch marks all the way down through it to the middle. I use those a lot when I am doing this, which I'm going to show you, on the edge of something, so that I can line up the edge and I can put my dots for my holes in from the edge by a certain amount, and I usually use about a 1/2 inch. What we need to do is find this where both sides here are the same. Let's see if I can bring it in a little bit. Both sides of these are in by the same amount. And I've got 2 3/4 here and 2 3/4 there, so that's it. Now, how many holes do I want? If I put in 5 holes, 0, 1 and 1, and 2 and 2, that would be all right, but I really would like my holes a little closer to the edge. 3/4 of an inch from the edge is kind of far away. So what do I want to do here? And this is just going to be a standard straight binding. It's not going to have anything fancy. It's not going to be fancy stitches. If I do 0, 1 1/8, and 2 1/4, that gives me 5 holes, and they're all pretty equally spaced apart. So I think that's what I'm going to do. 0, 1 1/8, and 2 1/4. Okay, and I know you can't see the little dots that I put on there, but there's tiny little dots on each of those spots. Now I want to do this back cover the same way, but I need to make sure that I flip it so that it's on the outside. Let's get that out of the way. Okay, so now I have those holes, and I can punch them with whatever I choose to punch them with. There's the 16th inch hole punch that I used to punch the holes for this. I could use my big bite, anything I want to punch holes in this, but I want a smaller hole, I think. I don't think I want a great big hole in it, so I'm going to use the 16th inch punch, and I'll punch the holes in the cover. So there are my covers, and there's the holes for the covers. Now, we have to remember the same measurements when we go to put the holes in our signatures. And so sometimes I write it down. So it's 0, 1 1/8, and 2 1/4. And the thing we want to do now is we're going to use the same ruler. I'm looking for my phone book. Okay, so I cannot remember what I've done with my other phone book. So I know it's right here somewhere because I use it all the time, but I've apparently put it away somewhere. Not the wisest decision I've ever made. So here's the thing. I use this to punch holes in my signatures. It's a pokey tool. I happen to like this one. It's a Tim Holtz tool. I'll put a link in the description box for my Tim Holtz tool. I like it because it closes up and I don't have an open pokey tool. It also has a pretty strong metal piece, and I haven't broke it yet, so that's a good thing. I like a phone book or some kind of book. You can use an old paperback or something like that. I have to protect my work surface, and when I'm poking holes in something, I want something pretty sturdy. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this up. I have some paper clips. We're going to open all of our pages up, our signature to the center. Get it all nice and centered, which means there's a touch on each side of the outside cover. Then we're going to take our paper clips. Oh good, they're all tangled together. And we're going to paper clip this here like so. You can use some other kind of clip. I happen to like paper clips. Make sure that the crease is definitely in the crease of your signature of your outside piece. If you're just doing paper, just make sure they're all tucked really tight together. Then we're going to measure, and we're going to use the same measurements, but first we have to find the center. And we used 5 1/4 on the paper, so it's going to be about 2 5/8. Yeah. Okay. So we're using, and I'm going to mark this right on the line that's the fold line. We're going to mark it 0, 1 1/8, and 2 1/4. 1 1/8, 2 1/4. Okay. Then we're going to take our pokey tool and we're going to poke holes. And I like to turn it around in my hand and poke hole from the other side for these two. It just helps me to hold my thumbnail in that crease so that it ends up right in the crease of the fold. Okay, so we have to do that 7 more times. I'm just going to set this aside and continue to do the next one. Okay, now we have all of our holes punched. And one of the things we want to do is make sure that we have our signatures right side up and in the order that we want them. Now, after originally I had a specific order I was putting the pages in. After the last couple of steps, I realized that I don't have to have them that way. I'm perfectly content to just, doesn't matter which signature is where, but I do want them to be right side up because some of the images have are right side up. This is my back cover, and so I'm going to lay it down with the outside down. Then I need to make sure that my images are correct. And unfortunately, there are images on the inside as well, so I have to double check them. So I'm going to just lay them down. That one's fine. That one's fine. And then I'm going to put my front cover on the top. Okay. Whether you work from the back to the front or front to the back, it doesn't matter, but you do need to make sure that you're working in a consistent pattern. The other thing is that I work from right to left. I'm right-handed. I work from right to left. If you're left-handed, you can do this backwards from me. Just be consistent. Okay? Always make sure you're consistent. That's what really matters, is that consistency. I'm going to turn this actually over like so, and I'm going to put it off to the side in a minute because that way I can grab the back signature and the back cover first, and then I have each signature in line correctly. We need some cord to tie this with. I'm going to use wax linen. I've used wax linen for the edge on this. It was a big thick wax linen. I'm going to use a smaller one this time. So I'll be right back with that. Okay, I'm also going to use a needle because to me it seems like a needle makes it easier. Now, how much wax linen, how much thread do we need? We're going to be going back and forth for each one of these pages. I have 8 signatures, plus I have the front cover and the back cover. The length of the signatures, I need at least 8 times that length, plus these holes are about 1/2 inch in each time. So we're going to need some extra for these holes. This, I would say 5 inches at least for the in and out of this, plus the length. So we're going to need like, probably, let's see, we're going to count 10 times and then add 2 or 3 times the length. So we're going to go 1, 2, and you notice I'm giving myself extra thread. I do not like to run out of thread. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then a nice long section to just not have to worry. Okay? Maybe 3 or 4 times more. Now, if you're going to thread a needle and you're going to work with something, use the end you cut off, not the end that you started with, not the end that you just cut off. You want to use, any spool of thread you use, you want to use this as the starting end. It has to do with the way that thread is twisted. So always use this as your starting end, not the one you cut at the last minute. Okay, now then, we're going to set these aside, and I have my back signature and my back cover. I'm going to flip this back cover over this way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this signature up to the middle, and I am going to go from the inside to the outside, and I'm going to pull this through, and this is always hard at the beginning until I have 2 or 3 inches left, because I do not like tiny things to try to tie my try a knot. So I've got, got 3 or 4 inches here. And it's basically in the first hole right here, okay? If you want, you could stick it like that. But then, this is my back cover. I'm going to go from the outside of my back cover in, and then I'm going to go back into the same hole that I came out of my signature. Just a minute, let me bring it in real close. Let me try to get this as close as I can for you so that you can see. Okay, so I went from the outside of my cover to the inside of my cover, and now I'm going to take this needle and I'm going to go back into my signature. Now when I do that, I want to be careful not to catch the thread. I need to go beside my other thread, not catch it. Okay? And wax linen is sticky and it's warm. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just gently pull all of this until it's snug. And it's kind of awkward with me trying to show it to you. Here we go. I'm sorry that it's not as easy to see as you might like. Okay, now basically I have all of my thread. Oops, looks like, okay, there we go. And my thread pulled nice and neat. I still have this one in here. I have this one. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle. This one I'm going to leave alone for just a minute. Okay, this is my beginning end. I'll leave it alone for just a minute, and I'm going to go up here and go through the hole of my inside of my signature. Can y'all? Okay, I just want to try to. Okay, so we're going to go through that hole, and I'm going to pull it out. Okay, remember we went from the outside of our cover, outside the cover, right this minute. I think it's pulled snug, but I'm not sure. And I'm going to go outside the cover, and then I'm going to go back through the same hole I just came out of. Okay? Same hole I just came out of. Right there. Now, once again, I have to open my signature up so that I can see where I'm going with it. This tail is still there. We're just going to leave it alone. I'm going to go back in that same hole. Okay? First one is the hardest. And right now, we are going to do a little snuggy thing where we're going to snug everything up. Okay? And now that this is fairly snug, we're going to tie a knot. We're going to take this end, we're going to pull both of them, and we're going to actually tie a knot in this. And I'm going to do it more than once, probably about 3 times, because, you know. And I'm going to clip this to, you know, a smaller piece so that it doesn't get in my way anymore. And at this stage of the game, I can now start pulling everything snugly, because before I couldn't really pull it. Okay? All right. Now we're going to do the exact same thing for the next 3 holes. We're going to go out and then back into the same, well, for the next 2 holes. Excuse me. We're going to go out this hole of the signature. We're going to go around to the outside of the cover. And sometimes it's easiest to just pull a little, you know, 1 or 2 spots. Don't try to sew all the stitch at the same time. Outside of the cover, we're inside this. The signature and the cover look so similar that it's hard for me to show you sometimes. Okay. Now we're going to go back into the same hole that's in our signature. Right there. Okay. We're going to go out. You do want to make sure you don't leave any big loopy things accidentally. Don't let it get caught on your paper clips. We're going to go in from the outside. And then, like I said, back into the same hole. If you question your the snugness, make sure you pull it as you go along, because you want this nice and snug. Snug, not ripping tight. That's one of the things. You don't want to rip your paper. And we're going to go out again. Go to the outside of our cover and come back inside. Okay, so on the last hole, you want to go out through your signature, back in from the outside of your cover, okay, to the inside of your cover. Are you ready? Okay. Then you're going to turn this over so that we are now working with the signature on top and the cover on the bottom. Okay, you notice here's where my thing is. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come out here and we're going to pull this between the signature and the cover. And it's now on the right hand side of that. Okay. And we're going to go back into not this signature, but the next signature. Okay. Now remember that this is the back cover and we have just put on a signature and this is the top. So when we pick up our next signature from the back, just let me back out again so you can see. Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to give you the best possible view, and this is a long video, and I'm sorry, but it can get confusing if you don't, if it's not always the same. Okay, so my signatures are upside down. Right now, this is the top because this is the back signature. Because they're upside down, this is the top. So what I need to do is take this signature and flip it over so that now this side is the top. Okay, so as I do this now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going in and out of this signature around these little stitches that we've previously made and back into this signature. So into this one. Out of this one. Okay, now we're going to go around this little stitch right here. Now if you have to, open this up a little bit so that, here, like that, so that you can get your needle underneath the signature to the inside where the cover is, and then back out between the signature and the cover. And I always go to the right side and out to the left side. We're just going around that little thread. I hope I'm not making this more confusing for everyone. Okay. All right, now then, we need to pull this snugly. We need to make sure this one is snug too. Everything needs to be snug. Okay. Once it's snug, you go back in the same hole that you came out of on your signature. So we're back to the inside. Okay. Then we're going to go back out through our signature hole. Once again, we're going around this little spot right here. To do that, it's sometimes easiest to open up our signature and cover, go between the back, very back signature right along the edge of the cover, and then back out. So basically we go inside the new signature, around the previous stitch between the signature and the back cover, and then back into the signature until we get to the last hole. Okay, and we just go, and each time we want to make sure it's snug and go back into the last hole. And then we go back out. Whenever we're on the outside of a signature, we're stitching around and between either two signatures or the signature and a cover. And then we've come to our last hole again, and we are going to go out. Around that previous little spot, again, around that previous little stitch between the signature and the cover. This time, once again, we're going to go back into the next signature. Okay, so now we're going to pick up our next signature. We're not going back in this signature, we're going back in the next signature. And we want to, again, flip it over so we're sure that it's right side up. And here we're going to go into this hole right here, this first one. And we're going to go out the next hole. Remember to watch those paper clips that you don't get it caught. Now this time, instead of between the first signature and the back cover, we're going to go between the two signatures. So we're going to go right between the two signatures. And I have pulled these kind of snug, so they are definitely kind of tight together. So I'm going to flip up between the two signatures, and it allows me to get my needle in there between two signatures and then back out. Always going from right to left for me. I always go from right to left. Put it in on the right side of the little stitch, come out on the left side of the little stitch. And now we're going to go back into the middle of this signature. Like so. And we're just going to continue doing that back and forth. Each time we come to the last hole we're working with, we will add a new signature. I am going to speed this up a little bit. You can always slow it down and watch it carefully. I'm going to continue to do it so that if you can see what I've done. But each time I'm going to come out the hole, go around the last little stitch I made, and go back into the hole until I get to this last hole, and then I'm going into the hole of the next signature. I'm hoping that's making sense. This is a Coptic stitch binding. I should have said that at the very beginning. But it is a single needle Coptic stitch binding, so there are more than one. Okay, so I found a better way for you to see. I came out of my signature. I'm going between the last two signatures to the right of this stitch. I will go down inside there between the signatures, not into the signature, and then come out on the other side of that stitch. And snug it up and go back into the center of this current signature. So that this stitch makes a little loop around the last one. Okay, so we've come out of the last signature, gone around the stitch previous between the last two signatures. Now we're going to flip our the very last signature and our cover over. And we're going to go through the cover from front to inside, from outside to inside. And what we're going to do is we're going to go around this last stitch between the last two, just like we have been. And we're going to try to pull this as snug as we can, keeping everything lined up. This is very fiddly. We have not gone into the hole of our signature yet. Okay, we're only just around the cover. Okay, and I find this part a little tricky. What we want to do is we want to keep everything kind of lined up. We want to pull this pretty snug. Get everything kind of lined up. Okay, now here's where I differ a little bit than some other people. I like to go around this again, okay? I'm going around the same place I went around before. That's between the last stitch the last signature we actually sewed on and the previous one. I have not gone into our very last signature yet. Okay, now I'm going to go into the very last signature. And it's always easiest to me to open the signature up. Come here. Make sure my needle went into it. Get everything kind of lined up again, keeping everything snug. Then I'm going to come out of the signature. Okay. I'm going to go around the previous stitch. Okay, right here, between these two. Okay, then I'm going to go through the front cover from the outside to the inside. Coming back out. Making sure I didn't catch anything. Oops, that's one too many signatures right here. Okay, didn't catch anything. Now I want to go between the very last signature and the other one. Right there. See, right there. Come here, needle. Come here. Get everything all squishy and lined up again. Little snug. and back into the same signature hole I came out of. And I'm pulling it snug again. Out through the next hole. Sometimes getting rid of these helps. Around the last stitch. Tight. Yeah. Okay. Front cover. Out around this stitch. Around this one between the two signatures. Open up that last signature. And back into the hole. Okay, we're going to keep doing that till we get to the end. Now, if you had a big book, you'd be doing this many times. And there's all kinds of decorative ways you can bind this. This is just a simple binding. Okay, now in the past, when we've come to the last hole each time, we've gone into the next signature. We no longer have the next signature to go into. So we're going into the signature that we've just been attaching. Right here, like so. Okay. We're going to make sure everything is snugged up, lined up, looks good. And we're going to open this up. We've got this right here like this, and we're just going to tie a knot in it. And I always go under this last one Tie a knot. I've got extra thread. I'd rather have extra thread than not enough. And I'm going to tie a knot. And then I'm going to tie another knot. I like to tie it 2 or 3 times. And it feels like I did not snug that up good, but we'll see. And now I'm going to cut it loose. And we have finished our binding. If you notice, we have these nice, it's really hard to see them, but they're little like chain stitches on here. This binding is snug, but yet when you flip open a signature, it lays almost flat. Pretty much even when you get back here, it's laying flat. So I hope that made sense to you. I know this is a long video. There's all kinds of videos out here. This is a Coptic stitch binding. And I hope you have fun and enjoy it. And we're going to be working on this some more, decorating it some and playing in it. And for now, I'm going to tell you, go have fun. Make some art. Bye.